Mr. No and Miss Rose by Amy Gersten Coombs. Bobby came to live with us the same week we moved. He was a boy of 5 who never laughed. When I talked to him, he'd stare at me with dark eyes, absorbing every word but saying nothing. He seemed to feel even sadder and more lost than I felt. At first, Bobby and I spent our time sitting on the gray front steps, feeding bread to pigeons. Eventually, though, I made new friends too. While we hopscotched and jumped rope on the sidewalk, Bobby watched from the stoop. In the house to our right lived an older woman I was told to call Miss Rose. I waved to her every morning as she caught the bus to her job, yet she never invited me into her home, and I never saw anyone visit her on the weekends. One morning I was sitting outside with Bobby when the front door opened and a large black and white tomcat limped out. The cat managed to jump up onto the porch railing. Bobby gave a small gasp of excitement. "You want to pet the cat?" I asked. He nodded his head yes. "Go slowly so you don't scare him," I said. The cat sat there, eyeing us as we approached. But as soon as Bobby lifted his hand, the animal leaped off the railing and scuttled behind a geranium pot. Just then, the front door opened again, and out came Miss Rose. That there's Mr. No," she said. "Might take him a while to cotton to you." "Why do you call him Mr. No?" I asked. "Used to tell him no, don't do them naughty things, but he just turned a deaf ear. Stubborn old mule," she laughed. "How old is he?" "Bless me, how old? 13, come this July, I believe." Miss Rose laughed again, a loud, warm, ringing laugh like a song. "Well, we are old, we too. But he keeps me good company. Mr. No's like my own child." "Yes, sirree, Mr. No thinks he's just like people. It's broiled fish or nothing for dinner every night." She clapped her hands together. "Now, how do you like to pet him?" She scooped up Mr. No and held him out to Bobby and me. We were friends with Mr. No after that, and Miss Rose began visiting Sunday afternoons. She seemed especially fond of Bobby, though she complained there was too much commotion in our house with all the kids running wild. Also, she complained about Mama playing the piano every night while we sang along. "I like music," Miss Rose would say, "but your piano's smack dab against the wall to my bedroom, and I have to get my rest." Pop figured Miss Rose was just used to quiet living and set in her ways, so he moved the heavy piano to another wall. One Sunday during Miss Rose's usual visit, Mr. No came nosing around the back screen door. We called hello, and Bobby went outside to pet him. It was hot, and soon Bobby came in for some lemonade, leaving Mr. No meowing at the door. But meowing wasn't enough for Mr. No. Rattling the screen, he jumped up and batted at the metal door handle with his paw. Mama laughed and said if Mr. No wanted to come in that badly, so be it. Bobby ran to open the screen door, and Mr. No slunk in. He sniffed the chairs and rugs, then examined the corners. Bobby sat on the floor and solemnly observed the cat's progress. We turned our attention back to Miss Rose, who had been telling a story about her childhood in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Suddenly, I heard Bobby give one of his excited gasps. Mr. No had jumped onto Mama's piano. I looked at Mama quickly to see what she would do, but she sat there with an amused expression on her face. Mr. No took one step onto the D key. Plink, then another one onto the A key. Plink, then plink, 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 plink. He skittered across the keys. Mama and Miss Rose burst out laughing. "He's playing the piano," Mama said. We all laughed, but one laugh rose above everyone else's. It was Bobby's, high-pitched and jagged as though rusty from lack of use. He laughed and echoed Mama. "Mr. No's playing the piano." Miss Rose and Mama looked at Bobby, and then they looked at each other. "I'll make you a deal," Mama said to Miss Rose. "You let me move my piano back to its rightful spot, and I'll let Mr. No come over and play the piano any time he wants." Miss Rose's eyes narrowed. "I need my peace and quiet," she said, "but I suppose a little less quiet is worth it to hear Bobby laugh." Bobby ran over and kissed Miss Rose on the cheek. Number 1. Eventually, though, I made new friends too. What does the use of the word eventually tell the reader? A. That the narrator made new friends right away. B. That the narrator took longer to make new friends than Bobby. C. That the narrator did not make new friends immediately. D, that the narrator felt confident enough to make new friends. Number 2, what is the main problem in this passage? A, Mr. No won't listen to Miss Rose. B, Bobby isn't happy in his new home. C, Miss Rose mostly stays to herself. D, Mama plays the piano too loudly. Number 3, the author uses a word that means a sharp intake of breath in the text. Circle the underlined word in the paragraph that best shows that meaning. One morning I was sitting outside with Bobby when the front door opened, and a large black and white tomcat limped out. The cat managed to jump up onto the porch railing. Bobby gave a small gasp of excitement. Number 4, read the sentence. That there's Mr. No, she said. Might take him a while to cotton to you. What does the phrase cotton to you most likely mean? A, catch on. B, warm up. C, be mean. D, act soft. Number 5, what is similar about Mr. No and Miss Rose? A, they are both old. B, they are both cats. C, they are both piano players. D, they both like to eat fish.